Welcome to the Archfluence Podcast, where we talk about how design impacts the way we live, work, and invest. I'm Nick Caracan, your host, and with me today, as usual, is my business partner and co-host, Paul Fatkins.
Good afternoon. Good to be
Yes.
here. It's been an eventful day, quite the eventful day, especially for you.
I got locked out of my office.
Well, and thankfully, our host was able to actually help you out.
Yeah.
So
Jim had a guy
Yeah.
who came here right away, and
30 minutes to come out and basically pick a lock and get you back into your office was incredible.
yeah, here we go.
So
And
you got lucky.
I did, and guess what I'm doing right after this recording? I am going online and buying a lock with a keypad.
Yeah.
So this never happens again. Yeah, Jim Ross is our guest today. Jim and I have been friends for years, but the highlights here are he is a licensed agent with Red One Realty. He has over 11 years experience in the industry. He's been part of more than 1,500 transactions totaling $350 million in volume, and kind of has this specialty niche where he exclusively, for the most part, works with investors, which is how we were introduced to each other years ago. Jim and I have actually flipped a house together, which we're going to talk about. And he is a numbers nerd and just has a pulse on the Columbus market like nobody I know.
Yeah. I think he'll give a lot of great insights.
Jim, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're finally able to come and see our office. We've done a lot together over the decade plus
We have
years.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about all kinds of things. Before we get into our house that we flipped together years ago and the real estate market and
I was going to say, we've even done some personal work for you as well, if I recall correctly, right?
Yes. Thanks for ripping that Band-Aid off or opening that wound.
I was going to say, if it's a personal project, like you're heavily invested into it, but it's also painful because of that reason.
It was so I purchased a new home. It was a new construction in 2022. And I had these big ideas of building a pool house.
I forgot about that.
And a couple $1,000 later, it's still not even started. Not even.
We can avoid that if that's the case. If it's too painful,
Yeah.
So,
I will say, plug for you guys. The process was great. The design was great. Execution of the actual build just never happened. But yeah, it was great.
All right. Well, we'll have to get you a Google review from you then after this.
I will give you. Yes, absolutely.
Well, Jim, let's start with, you've been in real estate for years. Why don't you tell a little bit about yourself before we start digging into Columbus and everything else? I'd love to hear your story from how you got into the industry and kind of your perspective on all things.
Yeah, I would love to. I'll start with personally, I am a husband and a father. I've got two young girls, ages 9 and 7, about to be 10 and 8. So they keep me pretty busy. And we live in Powell, Ohio. We moved out to the burbs about 4 years ago when I said, I will never move to the burbs. I was always a downtown person. So was my wife, Audrey. And we always said, we're always going to stay downtown. And then here I am. Now I'm out in the burbs.
We were neighbors.
We were, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what was it what was the ultimate thing that made the decision, for you to move out? Was it
I'm
just
guessing
like
schools?
Yep, that was
primarily?
Yeah. So we were looking at Columbus City schools, private schools, and then just all the suburban schools. And ultimately it made the most economic and fiscal sense to just move to the burbs, pay your higher taxes, but get into a good school district.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
but I was going to say, if you only have dogs, then you can afford to stay pretty much where you're at. So,
yep. The dog university pricing is a lot less than humans for humans.
Yeah. we will be back though. We'll be back downtown. It'll just be another 10 years or so. But
okay.
So I tell my wife all the time that as soon as our younger daughter turns 18, boom, for sale sign in the yard. And we're gonna figure out what the next phase is for us.
Are we going to design your custom home?
I'm going to be downsizing. So if you can design my custom loft or condo,
that's great. Yeah,
I'm down for that.
Yeah. Custom doesn't have to be big.
That's true. That's true. Well, I've been in real estate for just over 11 years now, which is crazy to think about. I was in the corporate world beforehand and I actually really loved it, but ultimately realized there was a ceiling there. I realized that I had an entrepreneurial bug. I wanted to be my own boss. So eventually that led me to real estate back in 2015. Initially, I wanted to be an investor.
As we all do.
Yes. So that kind of ended up driving my eventual niche, but I wanted to be a real estate investor. And I figured the best way to do that is to also be a licensed agent. So I got my real estate license. I jumped in with both feet. And when I first got licensed, I said, maybe I'll try the traditional real estate route as well, because all that can do is help me. It'll help me learn the process. It'll help me build a network, understand, how everything works. And
unfortunately, you were really good at it, and it killed your investment dream.
It did. I ended up taking a hard turn, and I stayed in real estate as a traditional agent, and started to then develop a niche as working with real estate investors. So they say the riches are in the niches. So
just to let our listeners know, like, how many transactions, and I know you're kind of dialing it down these days, but when you were peaking, what was your number of closes per month typically?
Yeah, my best month, I think, was somewhere around 35, 36 closings.
Wow. Wow.
I say that month almost broke me because I didn't have the right support system in place. I didn't have the right admin staff in place. It was really just me doing it all on my own. So that was a lot of all-nighters that month. I believe it was May of 2021 as well.
Oh yeah, COVID really jump-started.
It did.
Yeah.
But my best year was around 220-ish closings personally.
Wow.
So that's not a team, that's just me. And that was very difficult to manage. Right now I'm sitting around the 150 to 175, and I have a much more robust and substantial admin team behind me. So that's a lot more manageable.
Yeah, I love that. So this journey of yours, you didn't get into investing. I'm just curious, is that still on the table?
I've always still wanted to do investing. I tell people when they ask me, why did you get into real estate? My answer is usually I got into real estate so that I could get out of real estate as fast as possible. And what I mean by that is I saw real estate as a way to build wealth. And you do that by building assets, buying assets through rentals and things like that. Not necessarily through the active income of a traditional transaction or flipping a house, but through buying, owning rental property.
Yep. Hanging on and getting that equity, that appreciation.
Yep. So I'm still on that path. I just haven't really tackled that aspect yet because I'm pulled in so many directions right now that
being a father, being a husband, growing a business. Absolutely.
Yep.
I get it. Well, speaking of flipping, we actually did flip a house together.
We did.
That was fun. That was in,
I was going to say, how long ago was that
It was
at
a
this
while.
point? Yeah.
Do you remember?
Was it
2020?
2020? That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It might have been 2019, right? Or we sold it maybe in or I don't know. I feel like it was before COVID.
It might have been. It was definitely where things were getting nuts in the market.
I think it was 2019. I don't know. I can't remember.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. But beautiful home in Clintonville.
I'll say this. I don't remember ever wearing a mask. I knew it would have kind of been in the height of COVID if it was 2020. And I don't think I ever recall doing anything like that.
It was before that.
I think it was.
Yeah.
So we'll call it 2019.
Yeah. I do remember that we over improved it. It was a beautiful home.
So you guys did an addition on the back. Is this the one where you added square footage?
2-story addition.
Yeah.
Nick says
there's a dog washing station too in the lower level as well. If I recall.
It had all the bells and whistles. He said we over improved it. What he meant was he over improved it.
He has a tendency to do that. I mean, he cares to a fault, and it's like, oh, we got to do this and this and then. And he just keeps going. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, well, what does that cost? Oh, a few thousand here, a few thousand there.
We could have made more money, yes, but we did make money. And it
was easier to sell at the end of the day.
We sold it before we finished. So and it was the highest comp on the street at the time.
The product was amazing. I will tell you that. But my involvement in that flip, Nick and I both had very different roles. I was more of the bookends. I helped to procure the property, and then I was going to be the real estate agent that sold it on the back end. Where Nick's expertise came in is how do we design it and actually flip it and manage the rehab and all that. So he managed the in between, and I was on both sides of it. But I do remember very vividly that I would always get texts or calls from Nick say, "Hey, stop by the project and I want to walk you through some things." And I would get there and he'd say, "All right, here's what I'm thinking. If we make this change and upgrade this and do this and do this, it's only going to cost us X dollars more. But I think we can get, 2 times that back out in sale price." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do it." And then that would happen over and over and over and over again. So,
Jim and I never flipped a second house together.
Yeah.
Hey,
I was going to say, was there a certain point where he called you up and you're just like, "Nick, this has got to stop. This is you have a problem."
No, because Jim's the nicest guy ever.
Yeah.
He was great to work with.
Nope, that's not it. Thank you. I try to be nice, but that's not it. When he would pitch these changes to me, I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds good." I think the product and his vision, I was just bought in. So I never really had any pushback because in general, I don't want to spend more money. I agreed that it was going to improve the end after repair value of the house. And ultimately, it went to a great buyer that loved all of the enhancements and upgrades that we ended up putting in there. And that was thanks to
It
Nick.
did go to, a great buyer. So that felt good too. And
what was the whole process start to finish timeline wise?
about 9 months.
Yeah, it was a little longer because it was in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
That and probably a little longer because Nick kept coming up with the good ideas.
Yeah. I like how you put that, Paul. They were good ideas.
Yeah. Do you still name your houses?
We do.
Awesome.
Although when
was the last time you did a house at?
So 2 years ago, we bought some land. And we're finishing our first 3 cabins on that property now. But like I kind of stopped. I got out of the flipping game. But it's still on the table. We're with the market doing everything it's doing right now. We're looking again.
Yeah. What was the name of the one in Clintonville? Do you guys remember?
Did it start with an E or a D?
Elsa was the other one that was like down. Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. Oh my goodness, I forget.
Oh my gosh.
There's been
Sorry to put you on the spot.
There's been many, Paul.
Okay, I know.
And they're always women. Our houses are always ladies.
Yeah. I remember
classy
Elsa.
ladies.
I remember Elsa. I don't remember what the Clintonville one was.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm going to think of it here.
Okay.
I think it was an E though. Like an Eleanor or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. It was a great house. And they had that big magnolia in the front yard, which is just gorgeous. Yeah.
Well, speaking of market, do you want to open that can of worms?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been in the Columbus area about almost 10 years. Are we going on 10 years now? Maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10 years.
10 would be 2016.
Yeah. So I think we came here in 2017. So 9 years. But the market has changed dramatically. There was tons of writing on the walls, coming here because obviously that was one of the drivers. It's just, there was a lot of opportunity and there still is. So I guess, do you want to speak to we don't need to go back a decade, but what's going on right now in Columbus? What's the pulse? How would you describe the market in terms of health, opportunity from an investor's perspective, since you work with them every day?
Yeah, it's hard to describe the market right now because everybody thinks that it's in really bad shape. I would disagree. Columbus is actually a very strong and resilient market. If you want to go back 10 years, I think about a decade ago, the median price point in Columbus was around $175,000.
That tracks.
And today it's around $350,000. So in the last 10 years, we've seen roughly about 7% appreciation consistently year over year over year. So we've come a long way in the last decade. But
Yep. My only regret is I wish I would have bought more.
Yep. That's everybody's regret. Yep. But as far as the Columbus market goes, from a high level, when I say Columbus, I really mean Central Ohio. So what does our metro look like? It is still dramatically underbuilt. There's still a ton of businesses that are coming here. There's a lot of opportunities still developing within Columbus. We have so many things that are magnets to our metro that we still have a lot of room to grow. And I think we're projected to be at over 3 million residents by 2050.
Ooh, that's exciting.
And we are one of the only metros that's growing in double digits. We're not the biggest metro. I think Cincinnati technically is bigger than us.
Really?
Columbus as a city is biggest in Ohio.
Yeah.
But as a metro, Cincinnati is a little bit bigger.
Okay.
But that also bleeds into some of the counties in Kentucky.
Yep.
Also.
That's what I was about to say. It's not just contained with, it's across, Kentucky as well.
Yep.
Because I mean, there are airports not even in Ohio. It's in Kentucky.
Kentucky. Yep. And they got some really cute. What's that little town that's right across the river? It's so cute.
Covington, I think. Or you think about Newport.
Newport, probably.
Yeah.
But so our metro is still growing like crazy. In general, most of the migration is happening to Columbus. Yeah. So when people are moving to Columbus or moving to Ohio or moving within Ohio, in general, they're coming to our metro.
Well, it's interesting too, because when I first moved here in 2017, I would talk to a lot of folks who were just moving here too. For whatever reason, it came up in conversation. Most of the folks that I talked to were from Ohio, just in different places outside. Very few people were from other states, and so that's changed. Lately, I'm having conversations with people. Oh, we're from the New York area. We're from Texas. We're from Florida. Got a lot of people from Texas, actually, believe it or not, which is interesting. California, lots of Californians. I'm shocked that so many different people from all over the country are now coming here.
Yeah, we're not. It's not a bunch of cornfields that most people think of when they think of Ohio.
Right.
But our market is there's still a lot of demand from buyers. The market has softened over the last couple of years. Pretty much mid 2022, when interest rates started to skyrocket, is kind of when things started to soften. And over the last few years, we have started to see the shift in leverage move from the seller side more to the buyer side.
Which is why we're looking again.
Correct. Yep. So now there are going to be more opportunities out there to get deals. But that's also when you drill down to the submarkets or zip codes or individual cities within the metro, you can see different behavior. So you have areas that are still extremely strong sellers markets. And then you have areas that are very soft where buyers have all the leverage. But in general, we've got a lot of growth ahead of us. We have a lot of people and businesses that are coming to Columbus. So we've got a lot of runway ahead of us. So I'm pretty excited to be where we are and what lies ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, Paul, how long have you been in your house?
We've been there for about 3 years. I think we're going on 3 years now. We've been in our house.
He lives in Galena, which is actually, you're on kind of like,
it's like we're close to Sunbury. It's like the north end of the reservoir that's there. So like we're basically touching it.
Yeah. And for me, when I first went out there, I was like, wow, you're really out here, Paul. And now there's a new development across the way and all kinds of, I can't believe how many new.
So directly across from me is the old golf course that they just proposed at a zoning meeting. They're going to completely redevelop it into like housing and a commercial district. Yep. Like 100 some acres that they're working on. AMG. So this is like the only store in the entire United States. It's like their special AMG series with like even like their race cars and all this like crazy stuff. They just built a center and opened it in Sunbury. So it's crazy how far out these developments are going, or like even around the periphery, like you said, metro area. Initially it's like, we are far out here, but now it doesn't feel that way anymore. Yeah. And it's only been a couple of years.
I used to think of Sunbury might as well be Cleveland. And when you live downtown, and now that I'm in Powell, which is just as far out, it's everything, all of the growth and expansion. Now that you start to see all the businesses follow too. So it all fills in as the developers come in, and now they have each has their own little city. So, they call it the Powell bubble for a reason. You don't have to leave. Everything's there for you now.
Right. And do you like your new found existence in the suburbs? What do you miss about downtown?
The thing I miss the most is probably just the being able to walk everywhere. Yeah. And then also that's on the personal side. And then on the professional side, being able to drive anywhere within 15 minutes.
Right.
It was just always that, hey, can you meet me here? Yep, I'll be there in 15 minutes. I could just always say that. Now being in Powell, it's
Give me 45.
30. I say 30.
Yeah.
I said, I'll be there in 30 minutes. And usually, it takes me to get pretty much anywhere. It takes me 30 minutes. So that's the biggest bummer. My wife loves it though, because she never has to leave that bubble. She's got everything she needs within, 5-10 minutes max.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I'm sure she had everything similar in the downtown area, right? Within 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. She gets it. She's got the best of both worlds. She's set up downtown. She's set up in Powell. It's me that's driving all over the city that has to deal with it.
Yeah. That was one of the challenges that Nick and I faced when we were trying to find our new office location, right? Because it's like, he's still in the downtown area. And like I said, I'm out here and, whatever you want to call it. But it's like, again, we had to find somewhere that was kind of in the middle where it's like we both ended up driving.
I do like Polaris. I think this is a great hub for business and also just attracting talent, because a lot of people who we want to work are going to be now have plenty of communities, Dublin, New Albany, they can there's a lot of great housing stock around this area.
Yeah.
I like Polaris too. I think it's becoming more and more almost centrally located as
the second downtown.
Yeah. As the development keeps going north. So yeah, I like this area.
Cool. Well, what do you see Columbus doing from your perspective? I know you have mostly clients who are on the investor side, but how is this shaping out? You threw out a number of, by 2050, we're going to have over 3 million people. What does that mean for housing stocks demands? Can you give your opinion on that?
It's like we're already under the housing that we need. So there's already a strong need to build more.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are underbuilt.
Well, I mean, I guess real quick, Zoned In has now recategorized all the corridors, and then about 40% of the city now has been reallocated to go up in height, multifamily, industrial business. There's a lot of development there, and we're starting to see those effects now. We're designing a multifamily 36 unit on Broad. So I mean, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the red tape that you have to go through to be able to get a project approved, or the zoning and planning commissions, as that process improves, it'll allow us to build faster. And then as you also start to see some of the affordability issues that we're facing right now come down, interest rates come down, there's potential that we see a big explosion in demand. So that's kind of where I see Columbus going in the next year or so when rates do come down.
Do you think that's going to push people back into the downtown center, or are we going to see more growth outside, or both?
I would say both. People are going to just naturally go where they can afford to live, and you can get new construction that's outside of the 270 loop, or you could get something that's fully renovated in an urban area. So I think the demand will start to just spread everywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I know people complain about the affordability of some of these new developments and projects that are coming in, but I mean, like a lot of them, like once they're built, they're taken up pretty quick, in terms of people coming into the housing. Because again, like you said, we're underbuilt on the housing side. So
you're also seeing a lot of value too. Like if you do a new build, you're getting, I mean, I know what you paid for your house. I know it's worth a lot more now. And that's not all related directly to just the increase in the market. There's some opportunities when you have newer stock of housing, right? There's demand for that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like there's plenty of people that need housing that can afford the housing that's being built. It's not like, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, just in general, like you said, whether it's new stock that's being built or whatever, I can't touch the table. Whatever is getting built out, I mean, like no matter what, I think there's going to be people that are going into it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the demand is still very high in Columbus in general. Now the buyers,
it's a better way to say the point I was trying to make.
Sellers outnumber the buyers. That's where we're starting to see this shift in who has the leverage. Is it a buyer's market or seller's market? We're kind of not really either. We're more of a seller's market marching towards a buyer's market or a balanced market.
Yep.
Just something that's more buyer friendly, but there's still a ton of demand in Columbus. So properties that are priced right and are in high demand neighborhoods still go like that. And then you have properties in other neighborhoods where there's just a big saturation of inventory, and they'll just sit and sit and sit, and they'll have to drop their price over and over again. And buyers can come in with a lot of leverage.
Well, then I got a selfish question for you. So typically I lived in New York for a decade. And when you look at real estate on the coast, even like San Francisco, California areas, it's real estate's very expensive, right? An investor might buy a property and have a negative cash flow for 12 just period negative cash flow. We might be losing a couple $100 a month. However, the following year, because of market conditions, inflation, everything else, your property might be worth $500,000 or $600,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
They can sell it, make their money that way, and they then 1031 exchange it into something else. So Ohio has typically been a cash flow state where we haven't seen these big swings in prices up until the last 10 years. And now we're kind of like in this gray area where we're seeing both. You get a little bit of cash flow, you have the upside on the equity. Are you seeing value in like buying in nicer neighborhoods if we can find the deal, or like what are your clients typically gravitating towards?
I'd say that they're gravitating towards wherever a deal can be had. So they're not necessarily targeting. They're probably more avoiding a few zip codes, but then outside of that, anything that fits their buyer profile, their buy box, they're going after it.
Are they avoiding like neighborhoods that are on the lower end of things, like like C-class properties, or are they avoiding like the A-class properties, or both?
More on the lower end.
Okay,
just because they tend to bring more headaches during the rehab. There's a lot more risk during the owning of it, while they own it.
Yeah.
And then there's not as much upside right now on the after repair value. Plus, a lot of those areas are very saturated with inventory. So you have to account for higher hold times and higher insurance costs and all those things.
And that, and that's why I was like, if you can afford a class A or A minus B plus property with a better school district and you are flipping the house, like that's why we were able to turn that house before we even finished. I just think depending on like I like a better neighborhood, right? I like an easy sell, a quick sell. Obviously during COVID, everything sold, everyone, they're flying off, but now that it's slowing down a little bit, my thinking has shifted a little bit where I'm just like, oh, I don't want to hold anything unless I'm planning on holding it, which by the way, if we're building wealth, that's a great thing to do. So if you can manage it, great. But I'm definitely looking, but even then holding in a neighborhood that's where we're dealing with those problems, I rather make a little bit less and see less of an upside with less of a headache.
Correct. And a lot of those areas, if you were buying and planning to hold for a few years, or you think you're going to cash flow it because the rent is high, but the price was cheap, you end up realizing that when that tenant moves out and you have to turn it, they just want your whole year's worth of cash flow right there because the property just wasn't maintained like it should have been.
Yep. And in those, less desirable neighborhoods, it's also harder to do alternative renting, like short-term rentals, midterm rentals.
True.
It's more difficult.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is it even possible if it's...
It is. It is. It's just most management companies won't want to touch it because the upside is less and the maintenance is more.
Yeah.
It's more work and less money. So they tend to stay away from it. So you're self-managing. And if you're not ready for a second job, it's not necessarily worth it.
Yeah. Even if I had one rental, I would have a property manager running it for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So moving forward in Columbus, or anything else that you want to touch on with the Columbus market? Anything you want to bring up?
I'm a big data nerd, so everything I talk about will probably be a snooze fest for your audience. But I do like to track what's happening week by week in our market just to see how things are trending. And right now we do have a really strong median price point. So I think I mentioned it earlier, but we're right around that 350 mark as a median price point. We're right around just over 400 as an average price point. A lot of people talk in average. I don't ever talk in average. I always talk in median. That's a nerdy statistical answer as to why. So I won't go into that. But looking at median price point versus average, there's still some data in there that you can get some insights from. Right now, our median is 350. Our average is 400. That's a difference of about 15%. That'll tell you what is driving our market. If the gap between your median and average price point is growing, that means that your higher end properties, your higher sale price points are actually driving more of the market. If those numbers are closer together, then your median or lower price points are driving the market. Right now, what we're seeing is the gap between median and average is growing a little bit, which tells us that some of those higher price point neighborhoods are driving a lot of volume in Columbus. So that's why you see the really, quote unquote, hot markets are still Upper Arlington, Worthington, Dublin. Those are all much higher price points, and those are driving a lot of the sales volume right now.
Is that a metric that you're tracking like on a quarterly basis, or how often are you like
monthly, Paul?
So I'm just asking.
Weekly.
Oh, there we go.
Weekly. Okay. Weekly.
Yeah.
I pull it weekly. So
quarterly, I would think would be the long. Yeah. Like quarterly is pretty in terms of like the market analysis, right? It's pretty big. That's a pretty big window to look at.
We've seen some big shifts just in 30 days, but yeah, that makes sense, Jim.
Yeah. I like to be able to establish, what happened last week.
And by the way, not all of our listeners would necessarily know. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, I'm just having some fun, Paul.
I like to know what happens every week, so then I can look at, okay, what happened last week versus the last 4 weeks versus last month versus last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and establish some trends from there. So just some other random data facts for our market, just to have a good understanding of what's the health of our local market and where is it trending. So I was talking about our median price points right around 350, which is about 4% higher than it was last year. So we are still seeing growth in our market. Most national estimates is that we might be flat to 1% ish in growth. And in some markets will definitely be negative. But Columbus still strong.
Yeah, I've definitely heard as a nation, like overall nationwide, it has slowed down a little bit or flat. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So our inventory is growing. It's unfortunately, it's a good thing. We want our inventory to be high enough so that we have a balanced market.
Right. Granted, if you're in the business, there's going to be opportunities on both ends of it. But from an overall standpoint, a healthy market is a balanced market. That's good for everybody.
Correct. And depending on what you define as a balanced market, there are a lot of different definitions, but normally you would expect that you have about 6 months of supply for a balanced market. I think that's probably a little too high. Right now, Columbus has about 2 months of supply.
Okay.
So to me, if it was at 6, that would not be a balanced market. That would be way more in a buyer's favor.
Right.
But we have about 2 months of supply. Our days on market is up about 12% year over year. So we're hovering right around 36 days on market. I also track our high level showings in Central Ohio. Right now we get about 26,000 showings per week. And that's still roughly the same year over year. So we're not seeing a big change in the raw showings, but because we have so many more listings that are on the market, our showings per listing is down like 30%.
Right.
So I try to figure out, okay, well, what is that story? What is the story that's actually telling? But so I see that our demand or our showing activity is roughly flat, but because there are so many more listings out there, the activity per listing is down substantially.
So how does that change your strategy when you're selling a home?
It really it makes me be more conservative when I'm suggesting a pricing strategy. I'm also going to drill down to that neighborhood. I'm not going to look at our broad market. I'm just going to look at what's happening in this neighborhood. And also, I like to look at what's happening with actives right around me. So that's my competition. Who am I competing against?
Right. Ash, in some neighborhoods like UA, it's not even UA. It's 2 streets that way, 2 streets this way, because even the market can change dramatically from one side of a neighborhood to the next.
Yes. And that's where a realtor can add a lot of value, is understanding where those physical dividers are. UA is a good example. The best example is Parsons Avenue, I think, where if you're on the east side versus the west side, your values are completely different. So that's where having an agent that understands those micro markets comes in handy.
Yeah. And
although there's a lot going on Parsons.
I was just going to say, no, there's a lot happening on Parsons.
Yeah, there's
a new apartment building that has 60 some plus units. Even the hospital and other stuff that's going on in that area. Yeah.
So
no,
it's not that far removed.
And we flipped. I mean, if you're in Southern Orchards or that area, you're still seeing incredible price points for a market that was, a lot less desirable even 5 years ago, like before COVID. It's amazing what these price points have done recently. And you're by the hospital. You have all these wonderful amenities. The new zoning is now encouraging developers to come and bring in all this additional infrastructure.
The development that's right on Parsons, I know what you're talking about. It's under construction right now. That's in the new zoning.
Yeah.
However, those are some of the zip codes that have the most inventory in Central Ohio. And that is where buyers can take advantage. They will have more leverage in a neighborhood like Southern Orchards than they will in almost any other part of Columbus. So it's almost a product of too much investment, real flipping and people buying.
And I think that's what's driving up the prices, because you have investors coming in. They don't want to hold them because the neighborhood's a little rough, or at least not really anymore. Now it's a great place to live, honestly. But you don't want to rent these. If you're putting that kind of money into something that needs work because you found a deal, now you have this beautiful final product. You want to get it off. You want to move on to the next one and put that money in your pocket. So now that's driving up, values for all these homes. And when you're setting new benchmark after new benchmark, so all these prices now are inflated, but these houses are beautiful. So we're driving down this beautiful street with fully renovated houses, and you're starting to see different, I would say like these young professionals that probably aren't having too many kids because of the schools, but it's a lovely neighborhood and everything's still walkable. Coffee shops are moving in. I'm seeing all these new businesses come in, cupcake shops and all this other stuff. So it's really changing the fabric of the neighborhood, kind of redefining, what's happening.
Yep. The prices exploded on the east side of Parsons, that Southern Orchards area. But now what we're kind of seeing is that we're going to have a pullback in that area because there's so much inventory. It's just way oversaturated, where a buyer could come in and they would have their pick among, 30 different houses.
Yeah.
And when you have that much inventory and properties are sitting longer and longer and longer, really the only two things that can happen is that seller's going to accept a lower price and just get it sold, or they're going to keep reducing the price over and over. And then eventually that's where you're going to see prices in those zip codes plateau, and then they're going to start to come back down, which then is going to bring more demand. So it should help with affordability, specifically in those zip codes a little bit, which is good. But those are the types of areas that I see have a lot of risk right now in price appreciation, where they're actually going to start to drop a little bit. So
if you're on the other side in the Schumacher area, German Village, unless, there's, I'm actually seeing a lot of $1 million listings in German Village, which I can't believe. Those are sitting a little bit longer. But if you're in the, I don't know, I don't look at the Southern Orchards market much, but I did a flip there several years ago, and I think we were close to 300 or in the high, low threes. And that was like incredible. Mm-hmm. And now I'm seeing 450, even some 500s, which is bananas. But I mean, just, a couple blocks over after Parsons, we're seeing a huge jump in Schumacher. There's very little inventory there. They get gobbled up fast.
Yeah. And it's on the west side of Parsons, it's also moving south more and more and more, where you're seeing a lot more new construction, some infill that's happening. And that's going to be great for increasing prices as well as just stabilizing prices. So a lot of good things that are happening. But from a real estate investor standpoint, they just have to pay attention to those things, where if you're trying to establish an after repair value for a property in Southern Orchards, if it were me, I'd be extremely conservative on it, because I'd be looking at it through the lens of, when I get this listed, there's going to be 25 other properties I'm competing against. And so I'm going to need to account for a lower final sale price, a longer hold time, and things like that. So if you still run your numbers the right way, then it could be a great place to buy. But a lot of people are still speculative on where values. Oh, no. Columbus appreciates at 4% a year. Yeah. So this is going to appreciate in this area. It's just not the case.
So you think they're looking at it with too broad of a lens, in other words, and it's not like necessarily focused down to that neighborhood. So maybe again, you want to be not so optimistic is kind of what you're saying.
Yep. It just
depending on where you're at.
Yep. Yeah. And some places I'd say, yeah, you might get away with being a little more speculative and thinking the values are going to go higher than what the comps tell you.
Yeah.
And you might do that because it's worth taking the risk.
Yeah.
But in an area where it's saturated with inventory and prices likely could start to come down versus go up, then you need to account for that.
I think if you're a young beginning investor and this isn't something that you've put into your machine, that you're just recycling house and flipping and moving to the next. But if you're a young person and you're moving and you're house hacking, so you get into these nice new renovated homes and you have a roommate or it's a duplex or you have some type of rental component to it where it's like also, and again, I'm probably at a different stage in my life now, so I'm not thinking like this anymore, but I just remember like there's so much upside to having a duplex and living on one side and renting out the other side.
Mm-hmm.
The folks tend to take care of property a lot better when the owner is living on the property also. So, I also think that you can attract a better tenant when you have this beautifully renovated space. It's like, is that your business model? Is this a long-term play for you? And this is even in the cards. If you're having kids or you're doing, it may not be a good fit. But if you're young and this makes sense for you, I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
I so wish I would have house hacked. That wasn't even something that was on my radar as an option. And then as I look back at where I personally lived, I had a roommate that did this. He took house hacking to a whole nother level where he bought a house in Hilliard and he rented out each room to his friends, and I was one of them. And the way that I ended up living there, so he just looked at things a lot differently than I did at the time. And this was before I was an agent, before I understood investing. He just had a different approach and a different mindset. And I wish I would have had that. But I was living in Grandview in an apartment. The roommate I had at the time got a job in Denver. He was going to be moving away. He told me that, hey, we're not renewing our lease. I called my buddy and I was talking to him like, yeah, I guess I got to find somewhere to live. He goes, I'll renovate my basement and I'll finish it and I'll make you a room down there. And I said, what do you mean? He said, yeah, I'll turn it into a bedroom. I'll put a full bath down there and you can move in. I was like, well, this is happening like quickly. He's moving to Denver.
We're not pulling permits. I got you.
He said, my dad and I will have it done in 2 weeks. And he did. So he had a 4-bedroom house, including the basement, rented out each room. And so he had his mortgage way more than paid for. He was cash flowing like crazy. Got to live with some buddies, and it was dirt cheap for me. I think I paid $400 a month all in. That was with all utilities and everything included.
Yep.
And when I think back on that, I'm like, man, he did it the right way, and I just didn't even see it. So if I could go back, I would definitely house hack.
Sure. I was going to say yes and no. Definitely did not pull a permit. I would say if he got everything done in 2 weeks.
Back then you could get away with it. Now there's a lot more infrastructure in place that prevents that from happening.
Yeah. When you know what you're doing and
you can still get away with it, but I mean, it's not definitely, it's harder.
He also had in the house when it was built, they, instead of doing a primary owner's suite bathroom, they just did an extra big walk-in closet. So it was all there to be finished down the road and turned into a bathroom. So he turned it into a bathroom. So he had another full bath, and then he finished the basement. And he said that he'd have people from Franklin County auditor stop by every now and then. Hey, can we come in? And no, you're not coming in my house. You're not. He would never report how many bedrooms and bathrooms he had. I'll keep his identity safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. We definitely don't advise that.
No, I am taking my professional hat off on that one.
Not advice.
Yeah.
But But listen, he was able to pay off that property very quickly. He learned some fundamentals about real estate. And sometimes it's just that next step. Like a lot of people will buy their first investment property and they'll get stuck. But if you're familiar with, if you have a tremendous amount of cash flow, or you understand tactics like burring or other things like that to finance the next project, then you can keep moving. But a lot of investors get stuck because it's not easy. I mean, I guess it's easy if you understand, but it does take the knowledge base and the motivation to pull off this, especially today.
Yeah, and I like that there's a path in real estate investing as well. There are ways to get into it without a lot of capital or resources. And ultimately, it boils down to if a person has the right drive, then they can be successful as an agent, even with zero, or sorry, not as an agent, but as an investor with zero capital and zero experience. Just how much effort are they willing to put in?
Yeah. And what we forget, what we don't really truly understand at the time is how much upside there is when you add a little bit of time in a growing market. There's just so much opportunity. Like, I have properties that have doubled and tripled in value in a decade, which is incredible. So who cares if I still have the same, and I've been paying down that mortgage, so I'm about a third of the way through. So it's just, when you stop and you look at it, your costs are fixed and rents are going up and everything else kind of falls into place. Values are up. Now you can get a HELOC, a line of credit, buy something else, refinance, burr it out, buy something else, and 31 exchange it, upgrade to something else. So there's a lot of different opportunities now then to multiply your money.
Yep. Yeah. The phrase I love right now is own assets or get left behind.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to just be real estate. It can be any asset, but with what we're seeing from an inflation standpoint, from how much money the U.S. government prints standpoint, we tend to think of, my house is, or my asset is appreciating in value. It's getting worth more, when really what's happening is that the dollar is worth less.
Yeah.
So if all of your savings and your net worth is wrapped up in cash, then that's slowly being eroded over time. But if your net worth is in
real estate,
actually, assets like real estate,
it's a store
that's
of
how
wealth.
you grow over time. Yep.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. And honestly, I don't even get held up on like, I own this many properties or this or that. Even if you have one investment property, it at least gives you the leverage to look at opportunities should something come across your desk, so to speak. So, I think that real estate continues to be a great investment tool to build wealth, not necessarily retire you and get you out of your job or whatever your business, but it certainly gives you options in terms of growing your wealth. Yeah. And some tax shelter opportunities. I love talking about this stuff.
It leads down so many roads.
Yeah.
It's always fun. And I just got to catch up with you in general. I feel like I don't see you.
You've been busy. I've been busy.
Yeah.
That happens. And you got your family. I can't believe your girls are
9 and 7.
That's wild.
I know.
I like literally babies.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were flipping the house in Clintonville, I think they were in diapers still.
One of them.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If it was 2019, I would have had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Time flies. So
you still look amazing, if not better.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Salt and pepper these days. Everything's going gray.
yeah,
I hear you. Well, Jim, where can we find you? Is there any other nuggets of wealth you want to share with us? We'll put that in the show notes.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Jim Ross, or at Hey Jim Ross is my handle on Instagram. Would love to connect if you're interested in learning more about our market, just understanding the data that's kind of the pulse of our market and what's happening, where we're trending. I love talking macro as well. So what's happening in the economy that ultimately leads to an impact on the housing market or mortgage rates, things like that. So I'm a data nerd. I love talking about macro and microeconomics. Would love to connect with anybody that likes to do the same. As far as my nuggets, I think my nugget was own assets or get left behind. That's been my biggest takeaway over the last few years, is that you have to start positioning yourself to and understand kind of what's happening with our economy, that owning assets is how you get ahead.
Yeah, agreed. That's why I wanted to buy an office. That's why Paul and I bought an office rather than leased.
It was worth the wait.
Yeah,
it really was.
Well, this has been so much fun.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, I think we're going to cut it off there. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thanks again.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. This has been the ArcFluence Podcast. As always, you can get more information and additional content on arcfluence.com. Please subscribe on the platform of your choice and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.